All right, back in action, Josh.
All right. So we can just jump right in if you want.
Okay.
All right. So um the topic is building the new economy, correct?
Correct. This is 2028. No, December 28th, 2023.
Okay. And let me know if the video or audio does any cutting out, and I'll just give me a hand signal or I don't know, something.
Okay.
All right. So the economy that we've worked with and experimented with and built and road tested, not full road testing, but we've road tested a lot of the pieces around it, is called either you would call it either an access economy or a contribution economy. Not to be confused with contributionism, which is a term created by Michael Tellinger of One Small Town or the Ubuntu movement. And that's called contributionism. It's similar though. And so the access is one of our main values. And what that means as a value is you're valuing people around you and yourself being able to have access to things versus being blocked access to things. And this is basically what money does anyway for us. It can be used in a way that's blocking and disempowering, or where everyone has access to what they need, so they're empowered, so we can actually move forward together. And in our current state of affairs, the access and the economy don't match. They're not a complete match. So those two systems don't fit well together. You end up with a lot of problems because the access is controlled by the current monetary system, where decisions is mixed up with money, is mixed up with resources, is mixed up with survival. They're all mixed together in this thing called the dollar bill. And so we want to separate those to start. And what I'll do is I think you need to give me a screen share ability. And we can talk about two things today. There's many facets of building these new economies, and they still do go along with the current system. So I can just preface that. You still can create trusts and still work within the system. There's just transitionary procedures that need to be put in place so that you actually reach your goals instead of just dreaming about it.
Okay. For the
Um,
screen share, if I go on screen share on mine, it's,
you can give me host, or you can,
yeah, I was just gonna do
you might
host.
have to give me host.
Yeah.
I usually can give people screen share. There you goes. And I might get where everyone can. So there you goes. I must be host now.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll share screen. Let me see. Let me get anything closed from behind us first. Desktop. Okay. So, all right. This is pop-ups coming up. Let me get rid of that. Okay. So I'll go into this systems change pamphlet. And we'll talk about the general structure of the economy. And so this is our current economy. The picture of our economy always matches in this case, organizational structure, governmental structure, so on and so forth. Decision making matches the economy or the distribution model. The pictures are going to match. In this economy, money comes into the top and it gets distributed down. Decisions come in the top and get distributed down. They're a match. They work together. If they didn't, there would be a lot of problems. You'd have to, you know. What we want to do in this case is we can take any organization, any group that has income coming in, and we set aside a fund that is structured in a new way. And that fund is this represented by this little circle in the middle. So that's the fund on the left. And on the right, we create what's called an ethos within, let's just say it's a team that's working within the company that's an ethos, okay? And this matches this. So these two match still, okay? And this just explains that, okay? Talks about a contribution economy. This is an example. This is not necessary, but this is talking about ways to actually flip the fees. Instead of 5% of your fees going to your credit cards and banks, they actually go opposite, and they go back to your community to actually build that same community pool even further. So this could be implemented on a societal scale to gain coherency instead of lose coherency. When you divide people, you lose coherency. When you unite, you gain coherency. Okay. And so this is an example of let's just call it for now futuristic, because the whole new paradigm thing, it involves building whole living systems, which there is no new paradigm yet. We're building that. And this is a future scenario here. Once this is built, this is an example of how these two things work together. And there are co-ops work a little bit like this, but they're definitely different, but they work a little bit like this. So there are examples of living examples. Mondragon in Spain, the third largest organization in all of Spain, that has basically its own city. It's all one big,
What is that called?
company. They all live. Mondragon
Mondragon?
in Spain. Yeah.
Mondragon.
Yeah.
Okay, really quick, but because I'm writing down my questions, like you said, but
Yeah.
for this page here where it says lawful border and universal agreement field,
Mm-hmm.
what is that referencing about? And or can you use it in an existing example
Which one? Lawful border? Where's that at?
to the next page right here. It says
Oh, yes. Yes.
outline.
That is in a contribution economy, you're talking about an economic system. And so you'll have a lawful, not legal, a lawful border that all law in the world is set up as the ability to contract is an undeniable right to no matter who you are. It's once you've signed up as a citizen under the registration or regis, or the authority of the king, you are agreeing to all the regulations that come along with that. This is beyond that, because this is a lawful border. So what that means is it's dictating however that border exists. It's lawful. It's not illegal, but it's not legal either. So legal, remember, is where they give you permission to do something that actually is illegal. So when they give you a driver's license, it's actually illegal to drive. They're
Right.
giving you permission to do something that's illegal. Okay. So this is beyond that scope. So that's the lawful border. And then on the right is the universal. It's called the universal agreement field. So what that is it's pertaining to a society. It's a universal agreements that would be agreed upon by members that are creating this economic system, this village, this society, this organization, whatever that might be. There's agreements that universally would be help people align together. So, for instance, you could think of don't kill, don't steal as universal agreements. You would probably want those. Those are pretty simple. You still want to get very clear on what that means. You don't just want to say don't kill, because, are you talking about animals? Are you talking about humans? So you want to
So
be
it's
very
kind of
careful. Yeah.
yes, it's
Right.
kind of like a set of parameters that these things exist within. And this is like a structure that you would have maybe written out, or it exists and it's known about, that these systems work within that.
Yeah, we have all the templates set up to build all of this.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just have to,
Almost like the mindset behind that surrounds it, right? It's like its own brain
yeah, it's a whole living
or the
system is
heart.
what it's
Call
designed to
it.
be. Yeah, it's a whole economy. It's a whole, it could be a whole city. It could be, it can grow from an organization to a village to a city, no problem, as long as you're moving forward coherently and everyone's on the same page. It really follows tribal economics, so in a tribe, everyone's on the same page. Hey, we're moving. Okay, we're moving. There's a system to dictate that. Hey, we don't have food. The information gets distributed. Everyone knows you don't have food. Everyone takes action. They know what to do. They're coherent and they act accordingly. Today's society, we've lost that. That's actually the measure of success is coherency. So if someone's asking someone on your team or organization, hey, how does this work? And one person says one thing and one person says another, that shows a lack of coherency, which means most people are going to want to stay away from dealing with that company if they don't even, if they're not even saying the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this can't happen. Oh, are you losing me?
Nope.
Okay. And this can't happen at scale with the pyramid model because that top person that makes all the decisions can only talk to about 5 other people. So on the left here, we have the economy or the distribution. So let's just pretend that each of those bigger circles are manufacturing plants. Maybe one's cars, one's houses, for example. These, whatever this is, what is this? 8 people, 10, whatever, 12. I don't know. How many circles are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 circles. No, 8.
10.
8.
Wait,
8.
2. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So let's just say that there's 8 people on the team. They all build a house together. The other people have 8 people. They're manufacturing cars. Let's say 8 more people on a team are doing some sort of tech project. Okay. Now it's possible if it's coherently designed in a roadmap that all these people design it together, plan it together, share together, and they create this economy together where they can access each other. You have access to cars, you have access to housing, you have access to tech. That's possible. Okay.
Okay.
However, in today's society, most people are trying to piece it together. It's like sewing together a human, like, oh, here's the ribs, here's, let's put it all together. The reason that doesn't work is let's say that we all build a house together. We build a big apartment and we go, okay, yeah, we did it through contribution and we're open to other people that have contributed and built other things. And these other people come along, they say, oh, we got a tech platform. We built a cryptocurrency behind it. And we spent 1 million man hours. We don't know anything about it, first of all. And the product's not here yet, but we want to come live in your houses and trade you because we want to mix currencies. Let's trade crypto or let's trade, it won't work because you're going to have 100 people in your houses and you don't get any benefit from them, right? So in a
Mm-hmm.
contribution economy, it's not a debt economy. So there is no prior debt or borrowing. So you have to come in with something
Mm-hmm.
or you don't have an economy. So an economy is the total scale of everything involved. If it's the village, it's the trees, the houses, whatever those assets are. That's your
So,
economy.
what about some type of, how am I going to call this? Like intellectual assets. Intellectual assets. Something that's not only.
Intellectual assets is a modern term that does not follow natural law. It's kind of like saying it's when people try to claim ideas like this. If we're all working together, we send our kids to the college, they get an idea, they come up with an invention. Yeah, we can have a reward system that we all agree on for these things. But in current day society, this intellectual property turns into blocking access, right? So they say, I came up with an idea for recycling bins in downtown, in the downtown district. But wait, it's my idea. You can't do it because I said it. So I'm going to be gone for 6 months. When we get back, we'll do it. It's like that blocks the energy instead of letting it flow. We want our energy to flow into, yeah, let's do this and
Right.
not claim ownership. It's very stagnant energy when we do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about
Yeah.
somebody who like, okay, I'm giving just a scenario, right? Because
Mhm.
if people have put a lot of their education and time and resources into themselves as a vessel
Mhm.
of, let's call it, consciousness that is able to communicate and use their skill is not like the hands-on skill. Their skill is the visionary, or their skill is the mouthpiece, the vocal, the person who's been able to work out like a lot of certain things on the inner world realms that can actually bring a lot of that manifestation to the front. That
Yeah.
person being their asset. Like, let's not talk about personal branding and all of that situation. It's not about branding the self, but it's like their capabilities that can actually shift the needle. Or you're saying they have to have something
Hey,
that's physical and tangible to contribute?
Um, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that an economy doesn't have, there is no economy without assets. Uh, a plan is not a dream until there's action behind it. It's a dream until there's action behind it. So you're still building the dream until you've got the dream built. So I'm not saying that ideas are not worth anything. I'm just saying that in this specific economy, that's an access economy or contribution, um, people contribute to the whole wholeheartedly, open, free, boom, let's do it together. And they get fed from the whole. It's like a body with the blood feeding everything what it needs, not more, not less. Everyone's taken care of. Everything is taken care of. Our objectives are happening. Otherwise, we're all just separately, we're in the ego game where everyone's just feeding their ego, and you're hanging out with people that are all just, it gets really tiresome to just be around a bunch of people creating, ego projects, and they're all separate.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about functionality when it comes to, all right, let's call it like this is going to be going to a village, this new system. Let's
Yeah.
just literally talk about the village that I'm creating right now. It doesn't have
Right.
its land patent. It's 16 million, 1,300 acres. And they prepare to run fully sovereign city and having the people run off of the national programs, which are to not be a property possession of the government, and you can travel freely, be freely, and so I believe that this is one of the people I want to introduce you to for this system, because he has it already, he sees it already, right? But the teams are being formed, and I'm helping him formulate those teams. So in this structure, there is like there's two models that exist on the land, because we're going to have an area that is accessible for people who haven't transitioned into that reality yet, and they can come into the resort, they can come into the health spa from the street, right? As a tourist, I'm trying to convince the ecotourism model here, where we can still have it structured through sustainability, and it can also teach the people about what's going on the forefront. You don't want to still pertain to the old models anyways, otherwise you're going against everything that you're designing. So we've got the land of the houses that people, if you're living there and working there, contributing with your skill, whether you're a nurse or, a baker working in the food restaurant, right? How are you a mechanic? Are you a chaplain? Something like this. You have somebody who's doing their work and they're living on this land. Their asset, essentially, the assets almost like belong within the city to everybody, it seems like. I don't know, like the personal possession thing is like an ownership mentality that gets released in this model, where we accept that we have what we need and we share.
Yeah, you can still have a company, and you can have a patent, and you can have an IP, and you can go do your business. However, if you're bringing it, it's like putting your house in the middle of the mall. It's like, hey, I'm building my house right in the middle of the mall. That's public area. So when it comes to what the city is doing together, that's common property. If you
Okay.
have a business and you want to run it and you want to sell stuff to the city, well, the city can decide if they want to buy it from you, or they might buy it somewhere cheaper somewhere else. They might hire someone else to do something. If that's how someone's approaching it, they want to be hired for a job,
Mm.
blah, 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 blah. If they want to be a part of something and contribute, then that belongs to everyone because they're all co-creating it. It's when you get to whole systems, you realize that your part is a piece of a whole thing. And, in today's society, we've deduced it all, but that's not natural law. It's not following. We're listening. It's how you can map everything out and control everything, but that's not what we want in this situation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you going back to your designs, or is this the
Yeah.
good
I
question?
could show you the last little bit of this.
Okay.
And then, so what this is on the right side. So on the left side, we have the economy, which is the distribution. Like I said, they access it. If there's income coming in, there would be a distribution that would make sure that all these things are happening in the right order, right? Based on a plan. So then we get to the right, we get the organizational aspects, which is actually needs to happen before the economy is built. If you don't have a good organization, if it's not running, and this is not a replacement for a good business plan. If you don't have a good business plan and you're not making money, that's a different subject. We want to have a good business plan that, you want to have income or a self-perpetuating system when it comes to resources that's actually working. You also want to be organized correctly. This is about being organized correctly and the economy and how that matches. So on the right, let's just say you have teams and organization. You have the 8 people on the teams. That middle agreement field is what we would call an ethos agreement field. And in the middle of the left-hand side in the economy, we would call that the collective commons. So it's the areas that we're building together and the agreements that we're all working within. And the boundary on the outside is the area we don't go, like killing, stealing, whatever we've agreed on that we don't want to be around those people in our, let's just say this is a society, or a city or, village or whatever. If you're doing a project outside of the values of what's been agreed on, then you're not going to be bringing the organization or the society to the right spot. So the values guide us, or guide us. It's our heart saying, "I want to live a life of purity, joy," and this is our values, and this is what creates our vision and guides us to the right place. And it's our mind's job to honor and respect those values, to not only give logical information, but that supports us getting to what we agreed on as our goals. Right? So that's how we work together. And of course, this has to do with the masculine and feminine working together in balance also. So on the right-hand side, you might have these different teams, and they're all operating within a larger communication sphere, a larger, they're all connected, right? So it's not like any team is dominating or controlling, and we have worked that out. So a lot of people that have not worked it out are going to say, oh, well, that's not going to work, or something like, you have to have a controller and a ruler and a da-da-da. It's not true. You don't. We've done it. It works way better, 100 times better. There's in some circumstances, there's times when, if you're a realtor and you don't need a team, then yeah, just run your thing, do your thing. You don't have to start a whole ethos, or you don't have to start a whole economy. If you're just wanting a job, don't bother. Just go get a job.
And
Um,
is it in a point system, or how is it? How is it? Because it's not through
oh,
paper money.
I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Yeah, so I gotta open this back up. So this is an example of a transition. And so this talks about, and points slash whatever. On the right side, there is no points, there's access. So if I'm contributing, just like a tribe, let's just, how humans have lived for most of eons until we got to where we're at now, which is stepping backwards from what was working really well, natural law, tribal economics. On the right-hand side, you've got basically that scenario, but you're able to scale that and, incorporate a global tribe, for example. Because we're all holonic. We're like cells in the body equals the organs, it's all levels. So if you can do it on a small scale, you should be able to do it on a bigger scale. And you should be able to take, if these are all cells, then you should be able to put them together and create something bigger. It's just communication. And now we have technology to do this. We did not have technology back then to communicate at scale. So on the right, you would have access. Once again, this is a closed loop network and it's a closed loop economy, meaning money comes in, it doesn't go out. So if I'm paying paychecks and people are spending it on rent and cars and travel, then that's just going right back out to the matrix, going right back out to, there's taxes, fees. We're basically bleeding out our economy. If it's staying within and we have access to all those things while not bleeding out, then we've got a closed loop economy. Money comes into this on this left side. You can have these pyramid type of organizations. They've got their ethos inside. Okay, so they're all starting to contribute. Yeah, question.
Sorry, no, I'm covering my forehead
Oh,
so I can read a
okay.
certain area. Yeah.
Okay.
I see through,
And,
I have all the eyes.
okay. And then they transition to this middle wave. Now, by this time, you've got a whole living system right here in the middle, okay? Now, this system is going to be a transitionary system. It will operate, as you can see up top. RBE means resource-based economy. Um, it, it can distribute fiat, tokens, access, fiat meaning cash, money, for those that don't know. uh,
Yeah,
then
shalom. So this is the reason why I ask is because like, all right, my high self message always telling me lately to eliminate fiat money, eliminate fiat money. So it's like every time I'm walking through, and I feel like I'm also a radio antenna to like literally dissipate thought form consciousness through the theta waves. And so it'll probably be when I'm around somebody really needing it because I've already accepted that portion. But,
yeah.
learning about it because I'm going like, okay, well, eliminate it. But that's basically why I don't have it most of the time. I know that that's why it's not in my reality because I already stepped out of that. So
And
why is
that's okay.
why is it that that's fiat money if they have it so real?
Yeah, so this does transition. So this third one does not include fiat. These people put in resources. This system puts resources this way, which are accessed by people, and these
Uh-huh.
ones give the access to it. So this goes along with all the geopolitical, social structuring,
Uh,
monetary systems. We know that we exactly what you said. The reason anyone that knows the geopolitical landscape and knows about how the money system works, they know that as soon as you use that, you are acquiescing to everything that goes along with it, and basically you are using in most cases, you're using your what they call a straw man. You're using your
right.
your fictional character, your business corporation or whatever's to operate, and you are under all the registration, all the codes and conduct that you have to goes along with it. Meaning, basically, you are owned. We want to, that's why it is important. All the, and I wouldn't feel bad about what you're saying. I've gone through it myself. I've lived the last 19 years basically money free. Just it works. Trust me. The mindset of 99% of people is, oh, if you don't have money, you're not going to survive. It's not true.
Right.
It's
That was
it's a
like one of my
fear.
like public speaking highlights, but then I was afraid. I was told that I couldn't really communicate it to like the wealthy people yet, dollars wise, until I have the other side of the solution. Because I know how I did it, right? I know how I maintained it and why and how. But I knew that I wasn't the only one also.
Yeah.
But I'm like the one in my region, right? Down there in Florida, as far as I was concerned, like, I'm like the one crazy lady who stands out, whatever. But
And I
that,
know all the oracles, Gandhi, Jesus, whoever, all the people that have, there's two ways to make someone powerful. One's modern day, it's money. If you don't have money, you're not powerful. But there are people in history that have been very powerful without money. And all the, at least the spiritual ones, I mean,
Mhm.
MLK, I don't know if you could count him as spiritual, or probably if the position he was in, but people like that, but
Yeah,
the Gandhi and all these guys, they all, the oracles I know, the people that I know in modern day, they've all gone through something of letting go of money completely, letting go of all attachments, and money being a big one.
thank you.
Because if we don't, then our energy is not free, and that creative energy,
Yeah.
that light speed, if you want to get there, that is spirit, the creative energy. And if you're blocked from that, then you're not able to communicate. You're blocked from
Okay,
that
so
act.
similarly, like I'm working for this village and there's like this teeter of us like all working, like we've all been putting our time into this, and through the transition, there's been like, okay, well, this is the amount of money, time that would have been spent. And do you think that it's transferable, like a credit value? Because, this leader wants to pay people handsomely with their receiving of whatever it is that's trustful, because it's like our value of our lifestyle is actually costs financially more than what most people have been trained about. So that way all things are covered. But at that point, the resources really haven't been there. And I think that it's because the divine wants us to move forth, with this other relationship also. It's
Yeah.
like it's not there because it's not really supposed to be. So mentally, if we just let go of that, allow the freedom part to be there, then the reward, if you want to call it, comes after we're doing that work, really.
It's very ineffective, that path that you're speaking of, for many reasons. Um, One being the fact that you're paying, everyone's got to have their own corporation, everyone's separate. In this model, you just have to have, I mean, it's nice to have the assets distributed, but when it comes to the organization, you don't even have to register it.
Okay.
Once again, register, Regis. So,
I see. The village should
yeah,
be one. The village
it's an
itself is,
organization.
I
Yeah,
see.
you
I
don't
see.
have to register an organization. You don't
I
have to
see.
register a village. It just, people, they decide an agreement, they agree. That's everyone's right to agree on something.
Okay.
We're under time banking laws, which means it's the help your neighbor law, which means we can all grow food and eat it together. There'll never be a stop in that. If they do, then it means you can't give your friend a sip of your coffee if
Mhm.
they try to stop that. Okay, so
I
that
shouldn't
law
let
will
it
never go
happen.
away. Yeah,
Yeah.
it will never go away. Like, you can't stop.
I
You
just
can't.
witnessed it. I witnessed it like, okay, well, if you're going to come and stay as my friend overnight, what are you going to contribute kind of stuff? And I was like, wait, I thought I was just your friend. Like,
And
this kind of
it's
stuff because of the scarcity lack mindset. That's a fear there, right? So it was like, again, reprogramming that trust that, if you're giving and just, you're already given the space is already there. You're already in it, right? So I see what you're saying. Makes sense.
That's how I live. This is we're family. We don't charge each other if you're family. If you're friends, you're transitioning into family, and you're probably going to have, if you're good friends, you're not going to charge each other because you know that you're basically family. It's the strangers that you're charging access to because you don't know them and you're not in the
Right,
same agreement fill with them and you're not
right,
aligned with them. And so of
right,
course you're going to charge for that.
right.
Yeah. And so the other reason, so the one thing is all the taxes, all the regulation, once again, you're bleeding money out because these people are getting handsome paychecks and then they travel off and just spend it everywhere. And you don't get the coherency, you don't get the workflow. I've seen these things crash over and over. Um, I mean, that's one aspect. And then there's the divisionary, everyone's fighting for a peace. There's no collective comment. There's no room for it. The business plans for these things that I've seen, they look, it's good to promise. I mean, I came down here for the Golden City and it was the same thing. It's like, yeah, everyone's gonna get all this stuff, but you got to have that economy before you can promise that. Not meaning have money, have an economy, meaning that you have an organization that's been up and going for, let's just say, a year minimal, and has an income and is producing that, then you decide what to do with that income. Then, oh, let's all take trips together. Let's all get bonuses. Let's all, because until then you don't have it. And if you're in a company and you got mom and dad to take care of you and they worry about all that, that's different. But this is people, this is an economy, and you know, you don't want someone controlling your economy, because then they're just going to suck it. The opportunity for it to be sucked dry is there. And if it's the king and queen model where there's someone on top in charge that you're depending on to make the choices for you, when they die, it's eventually going to get passed to a non-benevolent leader. In fact, it's probably going to get passed to someone that's incompetent from the beginning.
Right.
Because they haven't been around. They're not the same person. So this model, when the Steve Jobs dies or the king dies or whoever, it doesn't, the whole thing doesn't switch over. It just keeps going because everyone's got a role.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right.
That's
That's
healthy.
that. And then in this one, you see it's just, yeah, the trade is like that. So you can read it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that would be a good time to question about the time frame it takes to transition. Like if somebody was going to come to you, let's project this for 2024. There's going to be somebody coming and saying, I want to accept this model and I want to transition. How long is it going to take me? Does it matter about how many people are involved? Or what this, I'm sure the size of the experience is, you know, and all that probably takes a different amount of time. But is it
Yeah,
scalable?
you're right. All that. Yes, it's the quick and clear answer is anywhere from 4 months to 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
That's the quick answer. When you have a smaller group, it's easier. When you have people showing up, it's critical. Without that, it won't work. You got to have people showing up on the same page. If they're not showing up to do the work, to build the thing, to, you know, then it's not going to happen. So in the case that we have the company with the little ethos inside, you've already got an existing structure that's getting people to come to work. Let's say they're coming for a paycheck, and you make a little agreement to start an ethos, and that operates freely and independently of the rest, in the fact that the money coming in is, the decisions are made differently. The company has supported the birthing of it and is in alignment with the ethos of it and the values of it. However, they're not controlling it as their thing. It's able to grow into its own thing and evolve.
So exact examples, grocery store, because like I've had visions of specifically partnering like my eco film, let's call it, through a contractor agreement that people who work for the film receive certain amount of grocery store credit for a period of a year or however many months, instead of receiving like $500 a day for working on site or whatever, right? Like, so it's like they're receiving their basic needs covered in contract to working with this film as a model to move one of these samples into the world. And then we will talk about that also. So to work with a corporation who could, it's not like we would call it a sponsorship, right? But in your terms, it would be more like an agreement or some sort of, it looks like this the energy.
Either way is probably fine. Yeah. So explain more.
So what I'm thinking is like maybe Sprouts is a grocery store that we have here, is an organic one. They would be somebody who I really firmly believe would begin to accept this, and it would be something that could be created to teach people on the CEO's level about this. And I think that they would be a great sample of going number one, right? So you would go to them and you'd say, like almost like value exchange, right? So how much would the store be willing to, is it, they're not losing any money, it's not like they're losing money, so how is it balanced, I guess, like for a place like that, right? Because they have a bunch of groceries and that's what
Yeah,
people
case
come for.
scenario.
Yeah.
I don't know what they would do. Let's just I'm going to make this completely hypothetical.
Yeah.
let's just say they said, okay, we're going to turn the carrots into ethos, just the fruit section or something like
Right,
this. I
right.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay. Sure, sure, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Let's say they kept buying their packaged goods from other people. They turned all the fresh veggies into an ethos and they worked with local farms
Right,
for the fresh veggies. Okay.
right.
So this is very possible. And that could grow over time and that would be it would just have different people work. There would be a team for that and a team for the distribution package stuff. Um, this goes along with packageless society, which is great, getting rid of all the trash and packaging, which is totally a technology that's totally available.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's just not being used. It goes along with there's an organic, I mean, creating an economy, there's actually a science to that if you're trying to do it beyond the core agreement fields that we've been talking about
Uh-huh.
and how that would look with these partnerships we're talking about as just a purely economic model. Remember, my suggestion is you
Right.
organize first, then you build your economy. However, to give you a hypothetical situation, here in Bali, they have tons of farms they're doing amazing. We don't need to buy their farms and hire them to do their thing. They're already doing amazing. In fact, that would probably ruin what they've already done. So let them do what they're doing. Come into the neighborhood. What do they need? They're poor. They don't have what they need, and they're working. Their idea to how to get what they need is to work more, but they can't work more because they're gardeners or whatever, right? They've got their cap. They got food, they got housing, they're happy, but they don't have schooling for their kids. Come in, you find out what they need, you create a school on the neighboring land, you give access to everyone who contributes. If you're not contributing, of course, you don't get access. So this is the start of a contribution economy, which does have reciprocation. So a lot of people think, oh, there's no reciprocation. You just get whatever you want for free. And that's not true. That was never on the table. So they get access and now they go, wow, that was amazing. And you say, yeah, now you can do it too if you want. You want to have an agreement, you put up, now we want a dirt bike thing. Now we want this and that. And you get these collective agreements throughout the neighbors. And now you've got your own sustainable everything, including food. When the economy goes down, you don't even hit a speed bump.
Right. Fantastic. Thanks. And then so for the reservoir, so like let's think money is in a bank, right? Or so they say, right? Or it's in gold bars.
Yeah.
Um, is there some container or reservoir, or is it again, like I guess I'm trying to still understand where is the overhead? So it's like I'm working, like let's say I'm a superstar at what I do, and some other people are like slower at it, right? And we're working with the human awareness that everybody has their own experience. Not everybody's the same pace. Not everybody's got the same whatever. So
Yeah.
amount of percentage of contribution to, is there reservoirs? Do I get to go home and say I saved this much ethos and now I can go get something special like the better bicycle or whatever?
I mean, you can agree whatever you want within your organization, community, blah, 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 whatever. There's no real regulations, but if you want to be an ethos, we have a couple, an ethos is an agreement field. And we have all that written out. There's
Okay.
some core characteristics that you have to have, or you will not be able to operate with others in a whole living system. And some of those, you can still be that level one ethos over there on the left of the diagram with the pyramid with the thing in the middle all day long and start to transition. As you go further in the rabbit hole, if you're level two, you might be like you said, like in between. Level three is access only. So you wouldn't even be talking about that level three. And a lot of people are going to want to move into level three because they see the energy, they see the beauty, and they're like, man, how can I be a part of that? Instead of all the stagnation and da 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 da. However, in level two and one, you get to create whatever you want as long as you're not extracting everything. You still got to have that fund that supports people's basic needs first. If there's someone else working, it doesn't matter how good you are. If there's not money to pay them their basic needs and they're working 80 hours a week and they don't have food, you got a bad structure. It's not working. It's not going to work. So you've got to look at the whole system, see how everyone can basically, it's like if you have 10 bananas, does one person get them all, or does what you split them according to, what you need. You got to figure that out. And so that's the basic formula. The advanced formula, once you get going, is the fact that once you're releasing the intellectual property and you're putting your brains together, you can literally bypass that whole system of I'm going to work hard and start working smart and start taking investments where someone's making 20% and then everyone around is making 80%, and that feeds the whole community and people are bringing in tons and everyone doesn't have to work, they don't have to like fight over anything,
Okay.
right? Because you have everything you need. You have true wealth, you have happiness, purpose, joy. Why would you even turn your attention back to the old world
Right.
that doesn't work
Pretty
when
in
you've
your
finally achieved
freedom.
everything? Yeah. So we want to stay away from a city design that has the bankers coming in, buying out the farm, and everyone's having to package the food and redistribute it and pay taxes. We want to avoid all that. So we
Internal.
have to have
Yeah.
that intellectual property turn into and those roles that are contributing versus extracting.
Internal visibility of embodiment of truth. So last question, because I know that you had a short time here
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Is actually if I was gonna look for terms of this to turn over into the next year or 2 years, like if I was gonna look, like is somebody like a what do you call this, like forums or like people who are doing public speaking, like what are the terms for these kind of things? If I was going to say, is that actually starting? Where can I find more information? I know that you're, really leading this movement. Um, but like, how would I hear? I'm like, oh, I need to get more information on that to study it.
Yeah, I would say the best one is the best one is there's an audiobook and a book called Reinventing Organizations, and it really expresses there's a whole movement called teal paradigm, which is an organizational structure or a worldview. It's a progression from throughout the world history of from different paradigms and what we're entering into now, which is the teal paradigm. I would have that audio. A lot of people use the word new paradigm and they don't know what that means. So I wouldn't just look it up and try to find the answers.
Is
But
it
teal paradigm is very,
NU?
huh?
Is it spelled NU?
No,
Okay.
I
Because
mean new
I
paradigm.
do everything, this thing about NU. It feels like a frequency.
Oh, I don't know. Does it? It's not a chemical symbol, NU though.
No, I don't think so.
Did you see Michael's electromagnetic chemical?
The coils thing.
Well, he took all the elements, the elemental table, and threw it into electromagnetic frequencies.
Oh no, I haven't seen that one yet.
Good.
I
Cool.
was on the call with him, Jordana, which is Tesla's niece, and Glenn yesterday. Like I was on the call, I was on with you at 9 a.m. and until 9 p.m. I was with everybody doing the updates.
Hey, stuff.
Yeah. You know how
I
it
got
is.
another tech with some other really big tech wizards. I've teamed them up with some other or communities that are starting incubation centers. So, all right.
So, all right, well, that's good for the recording. I'm gonna cut that.
Okay. All
So
right.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else you want to share to that?
Totally good. Thanks.
Right.